Africa and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to New Day. It's Wednesday, midweek, huh?
It is. I almost went back one day because I thought this morning was Tuesday, but I'm grateful that it's a Wednesday because I want the week to end. I'm tired already and I just want to go home and have some weekend rest.
You work too hard, you know, from TV station, you go to the hospital and...
But Johnny, I mean, when God gives you life, like you said, you never know when you'd go, and I'd want to leave life having lived, you know, giving everything that God has deposited in me. I think that's very important, that I will die empty. That's my goal in life.
You want to live full and die empty.
Yes,
okay, that's good. I mean, our Muslim brothers and sisters out there started their fast today. I'm told that the moon was sighted yesterday, so the fast is beginning today, and we wish them all the strength that they can gather for the Ramadan Kareem. That's what they call it.
Yes.
But
interestingly, you know, because I saw a Muslim friend post up the fact that in other parts of the world, they'll be seeing the moon on Thursday. So she plans to start with them. And that's where the confusion comes. That's when you realize people love their food and it's not as easy to give it up to fast.
I agree.
Kudos to them.
I agree. But I think that also if you have a senior cleric like the chief imam himself, Sheikh Dr. Nuru Shaributu, who said that, well, Wednesday is when you start. I mean, you get, it's just like the Pope declaring that, you know, this is when you start all day.
Yeah, but Johnny, I mean, the flesh is real. It's always difficult. So when you're going into such a period, I mean, I really are passionate. I'm passionate about religious activities, but I see that the Muslims actually commit more to it than other sects will do. And so for me, it's very admonishable. Kudos to them. Continue doing what you do.
I think it appears in that particular way, not to take anything away from them. But you know that the Catholics, the Anglicans, the Methodists, and sometimes the Presbyterians have Lent, a similar period of 40 days of fast. I don't know who took it from who though, but around that same period, you realize their readiness and their commitment towards, you know, the period, as opposed to having the charismatic churches who, you know, occasionally would declare 7 days fast or 21 days fast.
It doesn't make people committed.
Yeah.
Because at least with the Orthodox churches, you have a calendar, and so you know. But with the charismatic, where it's on the, for lack of a better word, whims and caprices or leading of the spiritual something. So let's say today you just finished the fast, you think, okay, I have about another week to eat and recoup, then he just declares another fast in the next weekend. Well, I'm not saying, we're making it sound like that. Bad. People, forget us, we love fasting. Johnny and I are committed Christians and we do that when we're supposed to, so don't get us wrong.
I'm not too sure I love fasting.
Okay, then I speak for myself. I withdraw. I love fasting.
No, I'm not really keen on doing 6 to 6. I have not been able to survive. So once in a while, you say again.
You think?
I mean, you work in a very, you know, tough environment. I live here, I go to the radio department, I'm out there in the slums doing stories, and you're up and down. You need a lot of energy to do your work, and you can't survive on water. I mean, it doesn't work.
You very well could. Just ask the Holy Spirit for strength.
But yesterday, or must say from Monday, since Monday, I saw something that was not so right, and I think that we need to look at it. There's supposed to be a ban on drumming and noise making in Accra. I've seen that some aspirants of the New Patriotic Party, in going to submit their forms, have had the pomp and pageantry, you know, brass band and sometimes traditional drumming follow them, the noise and everything else. And knowing full well that the MPP party says it's a lawful party that plays along with, you know, traditions and the rule of law and everything else, I was expecting these aspirants, knowing full well that there's a ban on drumming and noise making, to have observed it. In fact, when the party headquarters is in the heart of Accra, Salem Down, I was expecting that they would at least respect it, because you see, you want to lead a party that has an amalgamation of tribes and everybody else. More so, your party is in the Greater Accra region. Some of your top executives are from the Greater Accra region. In fact, your regional minister is from the Greater Accra region. Your president, the president was raised in Accra and so many others. So I think that blatant, maybe it was not blatant disrespect for it, but for whatever it is worth, there's no excuse for it. And I saw them drumming, and it's not as if you're just, you know, drumming from point 1 to point 2, but I saw them at the filling station by the Paloma Hotel, you know, on Monday. I think Dominic Edia was, and then they drummed what even broke my heart was when they had a 4x4 that made an illegal U-turn at the traffic light.
Not at the
so they made an illegal U-turn at the traffic light, you know, on the pavement, onto the other side. And I'm thinking, well, these are people who want to lead a political party. They will have authority to decide for the party that is in government. And this is what you want to do.
You know, break the law. Space, they forget that people watch. And people are looking. It's just like an adult having children in the house. Whatever you do is what the person sees and they learn. When you do this and you've got followers who are younger, what you're teaching them is that it's okay. So far as you want to be a political leader, to do whatever you want to do to break the law because it's you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's MPP and I'm seeking to be in this particular position, and so I wield power. But they should realize that if they even, you know, obeyed these instructions at that critical point, it would have given credence to them, because like you said, just like you saw it, you think, oh, okay, MPP is doing well because they're copying and obeying the laws of the land. But when you do that, I mean,
because it's not just Dominic Idua, I think I saw Nana B as well yesterday. He also went to present the form. And so, I mean, this is not right. It's not right. I mean, if you want to be a leader, you must play by the rules. You must, because some of the people who will vote for you are also indigenous of the Greater Accra region. If they decide that they are not happy with what you have done and they vote against you, now who calls them? Good morning to all of you. George Quaining, Your Excellency.
You know, nocturnal people like us, we just have to deal with, you know, no songs when you go to the club.
It's okay. It's okay. If your club is soundproof, it's okay. Unless you go to...
It's an open area corner. It's an open area.
Or you like Blue Yourself.
But I want to use this opportunity to wish our court correspondent, Salom Abenya, happy.
Oh, it's Salom's birthday. I see.
It's a big brother.
Oh, he is. Yes, of course. I mean, do you like fasting? He doesn't like fasting.
Fasting, I can do just an hour. You know, I like food.
Oh, yes, you do.
I'm a certified
addicted to food.
You're a glutton.
Yes, I am.
I see. Congratulations.
With no regrets.
I mean, I'm happy he knows his issues. At least it'll be easy to help him solve it. So, anyway, George has all the news for us.
Okay, so news is up next here on your favorite morning show, New Day. My name is George Quinn. You can also watch us live on DSTV channel 279. On to our very first story. The Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Oquaye, has tasked the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee to make available to the House report of the Right to Information Bill. The committee has been working on the bill even during recess. The Speaker was addressing MPs on the first day of resumption from their almost 2 months break. Here's a report by Evelyn Tingma.
The Right to Information Bill, which was sent to Parliament under a certificate of urgency during the last meeting of Parliament, was subsequently withdrawn and relayed to be taken through the normal parliamentary procedure. Whilst on recess, the Joint Committees on Communication, Constitutional and Legal Affairs have been working on it. A stakeholders forum was held to that effect, where there were complaints about too many exemptions. When members of Parliament resumed work on Tuesday, the Speaker tasked the committee to make the report available.
I will appeal to the Joint Committees on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, who've already done a great deal of work during the recess on the Right to Information Bill 2018, to make a report as quickly as possible in order for us to deliberate thereon.
The Speaker also urged MPs to desist giving out information tabled but not discussed on the floor of Parliament to the media. This was after the Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu raised concerns.
Even though this is the forum for debate, we took them outside. That really developed some turbulence. The Speaker, if we have to work together as a collective, we must be very consultative and share information and not take anything from this house outside to the media. It doesn't help.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mohamed Mubarak promised his side's cooperation. In presenting the business statement for the week, the majority leader said the Commission of Inquiry on the creation of new regions would brief members from the Bono Ahafo, Northern, Volta and Western regions on Friday, May 18, regarding their activities which had been brought to an end. Papers on agreements between Ghana and 4 other countries on double taxation were presented to the House by the Finance Ministry. But ranking member of the Finance Committee, Kesel Atoforsen, had concerns questioning what Ghana stands to gain from the agreements.
That what is the motivation why we are rushing to come to Parliament to get approvals for 4 different double tax agreements. We want them to estimate the fiscal cost to the state. We want them to give us evidence that Ghanaian businesses are also going to benefit from those countries, and it's not going to be done in a way for small individuals and small companies to benefit from.
He says the minority will fully scrutinize the documents and would oppose it if it appears to be in bad taste.
Away from the legislature, let's shift to the camp of the NPP, where the race for the national executive positions of the ruling New Patriotic Party, NPP, has taken shape. Submissions of nomination forms have officially ended.
Supporters of the New Patriotic Party thronged the party headquarters to cheer the various candidates to climax the submission of their nomination forms. Several candidates eyeing key positions in the party showed up to submit their forms. 2 heavyweights vying for the National Youth Organizer position, Dominic Edia and Kamaruddin Abdullahi, both submitted their forms.
I am in it already. I know the dynamics in it already. I know the technicalities there already. And look, this game is going to be won on technicalities. And I'm telling you, I've said it everywhere. Weeks to elections, we are going to separate the men from the boys. And
I'm urging each and everybody to see this as a family fight. After that, we'll come back together and work together again. But I have no doubt that I started with a clean campaign and I'll continue with a clean campaign, and I am going to win, to lead the youth front of this party and make sure the NDC will remain in a position forever.
At the Nassar coordinator position race, 9 persons are contesting for the position.
Working for the party is my mission. Working for the party is my habit. This is the guy who sacrificed his life to make sure that NDC will not save until we take them out of power. Yes, Alice Rad, I have done it.
You can plan, but he is the best planner. You understand? And I waited for this time, and inshallah the time has come. Yes. And I believe this is my time.
Other key aspiring executives, including those vying for the position of General Secretary, they spoke to the news team.
We are not looking at just 8 years. We are not looking at 16 years. We are not looking at 32 years. We are looking beyond 40 years in government in order to ensure that the good work of the New Patriotic Party.
All the candidates believe they have what it takes to galvanize the grassroots towards achieving the new dream and to stamp the party's dominance in Ghana's political space.
Touching down with the women, making sure you build their capacity, because if you're able to build the capacity of a woman and for her to be confident and know what she is about, I tell you, that is where your success story begins.
We sure will follow this development till the latter and keep you posted in our subsequent bulletins. And now to other news, where the Attorney General has filed a writ at the Supreme Court seeking to quash a decision by the High Court in a case involving mining company Aston Cubic and the state. And Accra High Court in February quashed a decision by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, to revoke the mining license of Aston Cubic.
The writ filed ex-party one-party application by the Deputy Attorney General, Godfred Dame, says the ruling by the High Court, presided over by Justice Akabuafo, could undermine efficient administration of justice. The court, presided over by Justice Kweku Akabuafo, on February 8, maintained the Minister of Land and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, had no power to revoke the mining licenses granted to Aston Cubic to prospect for bauxite. Justice Akabuafo added the minister exceeded his powers by assuming the powers of an adjudicator. The court was of the view it is only a competent court of jurisdiction that can pass judgment on whether to revoke the licenses or otherwise. Even though the Deputy Attorney General believes the ruling is partly in the interest of government, he was quick to add that the judge went beyond his original jurisdiction. He is therefore praying the Supreme Court to intervene and reject the ruling by Justice Akabuafo. Godfred Dame, in his statement of case, insists the High Court judge lacked jurisdiction to enforce or protect a right which Exton Cubic did not have. He said the wrongful assumption of jurisdiction of the court by the judge is also in violation of Act 703. Clause 5 of Act 703 states, subject to subsections 4 and 5, the Minister on behalf of the President and on the recommendation of the Commission may negotiate, grant, revoke, suspend or renew mineral rights in accordance with this Act. Based on this argument, Godfred Dame wants the justices of the Apex Court to nullify the ruling of the High Court.
Still in court, a witness to the case of the murder of former Upper East Regional NPP chairman has told Accra High Court the accused person, Gregory Afoko, told the police he was going to deal with the deceased if he prevented Paul Afoko, the then national chairman of the NPP, from performing his duties in the region. And in his evidence-in-chief, former PRO of the Upper East Regional Police Command, DSP Thomas Agbanyo, told the court Gregory Afoko made the statement after he was arrested in Bolgatanga. Here is a report by Godfred Tanam.
The accused person, Gregory Afoko, was arrested after the deceased Adam Mahama was alleged to have been bathed with acid. In his evidence-in-chief, former Public Relations Officer of the Upper East Regional Police Command, DSP Thomas Agbanyo, now the District Police Commander at Peve in the Volta region, told the court the police drove to Gregory Afoko's house to arrest him when the deceased mentioned his name as the attacker. DSP Thomas Agbanyo said when he was picked and on their way to arrest another suspect along the Asabgi, Gregory Afoko told the police patrol the deceased Adam Mahama had an unlicensed pistol which the police was not aware. He went ahead to say he and his group numbering 50 will do anything to stop the deceased from stopping the then chairman of the party, Paul Afoko, from doing his duties in the region. DSP Agbanyo said he asked him of the name of the group and he mentioned friends of Paul Afoko. On arrival at the residence of the second suspect along the Asabgi, the police realized he had vacated the house without any trace. Afoko is being held on charge of conspiracy to commit crime, to wit murder and murder. However, he has pleaded not guilty before the court, which is also composed of a 7-member jury. It was alleged that Afoko carried out the act with one along the Asabgi who is on the run. A third accomplice, Musa Isa, was granted bail after the Attorney General opined that there was not enough evidence to prosecute him.
You can engage us on stories aired so far on our social media platforms. On Facebook is on News on TV3 and on Twitter is on News TV3. About 80% of logs in the Ghanaian market are sourced illegally. The situation, according to Tropping Boss Ghana, does not only lead to revenue loss but also affect the smooth implementation of the voluntary partnership agreement signed with the European Union. Here's a report by my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar.
Ghana has overlawed timber trade with neighboring countries, but most of the timber products transported to these countries continue to be done through unapproved means. The situation does not only rob Ghana of income from its natural resources, but also deprive the domestic market of adequate lumber supply. It is in this regard that project supporting knowledge and regulations of overlawed timber trade and promoting domestic legal timber supply through strengthening artisanal milling in Ghana was implemented. Under the project by Tropping Boss Ghana, with support from the Food and Agriculture Organization, 45 small-scale millers were trained on artisanal timber milling techniques. 73 personnel from the regulatory agencies were also taken through training on guidelines in overlawed timber trade. At a ceremony to formally end the 15-month-long project, Director of Tropping Boss Ghana, Dr. Mercy Owusu-Ansah, was hopeful the project will bring an end to illegal lumbering.
The people who are even involved are not safe. It has a detrimental effect on our environment because it results in forest degradation.
Technical advisor at the Forestry Commission, Dr. Kwachi Ameyao, raised concerns on the effects illegal logging poses to the country.
Ghana also has a vibrant overland timber trade with neighboring countries. There are often reports of leakages of timber products to these countries through unapproved means and routes. This practice has the potential of hampering the smooth implementation of Ghana's VPA with the EU and its timber legality assurance system.
Has noted Ghana has lost almost all the 6.2 million hectares of forest outside the forest reserves. He blamed the situation on the lack of political will to maintain the country's forest.
Ghana had 8 million hectares of forest cover, out of which 1.8 million hectares was set aside as reserve. Of the 1.8 million hectares reserved, 0.2 million hectares have been encroached on, leaving 1.6 million hectares.
At the beginning of the last century, the government tried to set aside forest reserves. And the idea is to maintain those areas for permanent management, for forestry. And that means that areas outside reserves are for other land use options, agriculture, what have you. What has happened over the last 100 years is that we've lost almost everything outside forest reserves. That's all the 6 million hectares. To the extent that even some of the reserves, the 1.8 million, some of them have been converted to cocoa farms. So we no longer have even up to 1 million hectares, which is in good forest cover.
Africa Regional Director of ProForest, Abraham Bafo, called for collaborative efforts to improve the situation. He indicated education is key to preserving the country's forest for economic development.
Government also seems to attach social dimension to it, livelihood. So we know it's illegal. They've done something which is illegal, but successive governments have not had the courage to say that this is illegal and don't do it. Of course, we've been saying don't do it, but they are doing it. So the challenge is, how do we get them out, if it's possible? And how do we bring back the forest? So for this TFA approach, what we are doing is to say, the small areas left outside forest reserves, which are forests, let's keep them as forest. And let's even try to improve the forest cover outside of forest reserves.
Residents in Accra will have a respite from excessive noise following the ban on drumming and noise making by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly AMA. But how well are residents and businesses coping with the ban? Here's a report by Jocelyn Wood.
The ban on drumming and noise making is a customary rite that precedes the celebration of the Homowo Festival by the chiefs and people of Gamashi in Accra. The month-long ban, which began in the Accra metropolis from May 14, is expected to end on June 14, 2018. During the period, residents are required to ensure that noise levels are minimized to the barest. This is Tema Station, a lorry terminal in the business hub of Accra. Here, the news team observed that noise levels had been minimized to the barest limits. Loud speakers positioned at various terminals to attract passengers were not being used as a result of the ban. Consequently, the driver's mate have had to improvise.
We have affected, so because the noise have stopped, so they can't hear it. Our mates and do this in our drivers. We are suffering to call. And then we used to hold them and ask them whether you are going to Tama or you are going to Ashama.
At the Kwame Nkrumah Circle in Accra, it was obvious the ban was strictly being adhered to. The only noise one could hear from the streets were the sound of cars. Most pavements and streets, which were initially occupied by some street preachers to propagate the gospel, were deserted. Loud speakers positioned at some bus terminals, usually used to attract passengers, were also not in use.
The pavements are free from street preachers because of the ban on drumming and noise making.
The central business district in Accra was not any different. The usual noise that emanates from loud speakers from some music shops was absent. Street or outdoor preachers noted for delivering sermons on sidewalks and pavements in some parts of Accra, were also unavailable. A clear indication the ban on noise making and drumming is being complied with.
On that note, we end news here on New Day. For more news updates, just log on to our website, 3news.com. New Day continues right after this break. I'm Josh Quinning. Good morning.
Happy birthday to our court correspondent, Selom Amenya. It's your birthday today. Live long and stay strong and be a good boy. It's important for you. Front pages of the dailies this morning. BNFT says ride-hailing apps drive demand for cars. Okay, so the small car demands are up, and if you have tried to buy any of these small vehicles, you would know how neck-breaking they're being sold at now. It costs an arm and a leg. Banking sector remains strong despite challenges, and $236 million needed to restore forest cover. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority prioritizes export trade. Those are the front page stories of the B&FT. The Daily Guard this morning says Freddie Blade dares Ghana Integrity Initiative, and Xylophone Cash now on Play Store. AG drags Ibrahim Mahama to Supreme Court, and Rawlings snubs Mahama at NDC-DCE's conference. Ex-Deputy Governor defends NDC, says 4.6 billion Ghana cedis dodgy deal. It's not dodgy after all. The Finder newspaper this morning says Tema Oil Refinery saga, the real truth. Minister and Toll Board discuss new refinery on December 13, 2017, and pitch a good idea and get 50,000 cedis support. That's according to Dr. Awal, Business Development Minister. And Muslims start fasting tomorrow. Nullify High Court ruling on Exxon Cubic. Government tells Supreme Court judge. And Afenyo Makin assists entrepreneurs in Ifutu constituency. Of course, a good deed somewhere. Daily Graphic says African countries urge to stop depending on aid from Europe and America. Government to assist more young entrepreneurs. And fishing vessels record zero catch. The banner headline says our banks are resilient. That's according to second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. She was speaking at the Graphic Business and Stanbic Bank Breakfast Forum. They assure the public there it's an annual affair. The Ghanaian Times this morning says Planting for Food and Jobs program. Ghosts register for inputs. How? Peasant Farmers Association are accusing, and beware of interest rates offered by financial institutions, according to the Bank of Ghana. And Ghana launches innovation competition for young entrepreneurs. So these are the front pages that we have here this morning. We'll have the conversation. Which is your pick?
Johnny, I'll start with Ghanaian Times. The Planting for Food and Jobs program and the ghost register, I mean, that they seem to have. When does this thing stop where people are putting in fake things? I mean, people are taking cards of deceased individuals and aged to get onto the plan. The idea is that you know there are loopholes and you probably want to plug yourself into it. But I'm happy that they've been able to catch it at such an early stage. And for me, it's not just a one-time thing where they come and say they've identified some ghosts, but that they'll continuously try to clean the sheets, because we know that oftentimes you get these people doing this and they stay on the payroll for as long as possible until they're about getting, I mean, they're dead. Then we realize, oh, he was a ghost. But we don't want that, because we lose as a community, as a country, when people fill these holes. So yes, we've identified some ghosts. Let's continuously keep the register being renewed. Let's continually fish out the bad nuts amongst them and make sure they get them off. But I mean, why would you want to spoil a program that's just setting off by doing something like this? That certainly means that the people within it themselves are the people I don't even trust. Because when these things happen, it means someone is leaking some information to let you think, oh, the security system surrounding this is lax, and so you'll be able to get away with it. But let's tighten the nuts there. Let's make sure this works.
I am livid because it says ghosts register for inputs. So the inputs would be the farm implements that they would use. You remember that a few years ago we had the tricycles that were brought in to aid agriculture because most of the roads from the farms to the market centers were bad. The vehicles couldn't go there, so the tricycles did relatively well in cutting farm produce from there. Go to the farms today. You will not find the tricycles there. Why? Because people registered for the tricycles and they are now using it for pure water business and to carry boiler in the city centers. So in the registration for inputs, people know that there are loopholes and they can benefit from it. It is not enough for us to be told that goats have been caught or whatever, exercise or whatever it is. What is the long-term plan in ensuring that? Because when that tricycle matter came up to, we were told how some people have been clamped down and how we're able to solve it, and the farmers were going to get the full benefit of it. Because those tricycles came at a highly subsidized rate.
They did.
And these inputs are also going to come at a highly subsidized rate. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about a long-term plan to prevent it from happening, or we're just happy to announce, as it's become the mantra of officialdom, we tell the people the problem as opposed to helping to solve the problem? I am very disappointed because the program is even now getting into, you know, a full-blown stage. It's at this stuttering stage.
It is.
And it's fraught with this already. It's a shame.
But you know, Bank of Ghana also continuously issues this statement of being, you know, aware of the interest rates offered by some financial institutions. I'm just wondering, is it that when it comes to financial management, some Ghanaians don't understand? Because yes, Johnny, it may seem attractive, but when you've had one or two examples, you don't want to set an example of yourself. We've had these financial institutions giving people ridiculous rates, and they break down, they collapse because they can't maintain their books. I mean, such high rates don't give you good returns. You can't keep a book when you're promising someone, say, 250%. I mean, return. What kind of life is that? So as much, I mean, the greed with which people clamp on these things. Let's remember that at the end of the day, you stand to lose, and when you lose big. Even if you think, oh, it's a pittance I'm putting there, and so at the end of the day, I don't lose much. You do lose a lot. Look, and most of the time, it's hard and saved money that they have.
What happens in greed? Rightly, as you said, what happens is that, I mean, these institutions will promise you heaven on earth. And within the first 6 months, maybe 1 year, they will be able to deliver because they are collecting Ama's money to give to you, and then they will collect my money to give to Ama. So robbing Peter to pay Paul, that's what they do. Over time, when people come to realize that, well, they actually cannot pay 100% or 200%, then they start folding up. At which point, maybe if you're putting maybe 1,000 cedis or 2,000 cedis, and you get 4,000 cedis in the next week or in the next month, you're happy. You want to put the 4,000 there, so you get 8,000. You get it. Then you want to put your 8,000 there to get 16,000, and that's when they show you that. So you've lost your 2,000. You've lost all the 6,000 that you made in their name, and you've lost everything. And they'll start telling you stories. Sometimes they tell you, "Oh, come for 200 Ghana and hold on, we are planning to give you." I think largely it's greed.
It is.
And I like to connect this to the sermons that are preached on our pulpits or from our lecterns. We're too busy talking about yedie and prosperity and everything. Nobody says prosperity is bad, but to the extent that we consistently keep telling people, look, in Ghana, to prove that you are successful, you must have your own car, your own house. You must have some money to be able to give out to people. You know, whenever you have family meetings or a gathering, you must have. But is that really success in the strict sense of the word? And that's what, as a society, we have released ourselves to. So people feel comfortable trying to do everything they can, whether overt or covert, to be able to get these monies. And it's wrong. I think that the Bank of Ghana should go beyond just issuing statements and telling us the financial institutions are whatever it is. We don't care. What we care is we must be safe. And in doing as if you're as a central bank, you know that the threshold for interest is maybe 14 or 15%, or maybe from 10 to 20%, and somebody's promising 100%, and you are watching. And you only come back to tell us, oh, they did the wrong thing. Then what is your essence?
Yeah, Johnny,
why are you there as a regulator?
It makes us wonder what kind of laws they used to work. Because maybe it's simple when we say it, but when you go into their books, maybe it's a big something. Because otherwise, it seems like very basic understanding. If you think the person is doing the wrong thing, as we all understand, because there's a limit to which you can cap your interest rate. So if you're doing that and you're telling someone you get these returns, and it doesn't sit well with the Bank of Ghana, why can't they take these people people off the market, but they allow them to brew, get people into trouble, and then come back and issue a warning. But we hear the warning will certainly stay off.
The Bank of Ghana recently, I see they've been trying to exonerate themselves from any wrongdoing and say they are not really responsible. The people are operating with a license under your name. They are operating with a license under your purview, under your supervision, whether it's a long distance supervision or a short distance supervision. It is still your responsibility as a central bank clothed with autonomy to be able to police the financial sector and police it well. How would I know that financial sector A or office B is not doing the right thing? When they've got a license, they have their adverts there, they have their signage there. I just walk in there and put my money in there. How do I know? When their websites are saying that they are doing this, the Bank of Ghana is supposed to have a supervisory body that's monitoring their website, and they are all watching. Everybody is watching. And you say, I should take the blame. Why can't you take the blame as a supervisor? Why can't you take it? Look, I went to, when the ASN story broke, there was a woman who has saved about 8,000 or so of her money. This is her pension money. She just got, and just came to put it there. And eventually she was given only 500 cedis. She was sitting down on the floor in tears. So she's worked for over 20 years and she gets 500 cedis from some...
And she really probably doesn't even have any hope of getting other source of income. But anyway, government also launches innovation competition for young entrepreneurs. Let's make sure our young ones take opportunity to make best out of this and not come back to say that unemployed graduates and so on. It's time for us to run.
Yes, of course. We'll rant. George is out there on the streets as usual. He has a special package for you. Take a look at this.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
The issue of human trafficking has come up for discussion again because the anti-human trafficking unit of the PCID rescued about 339 victims last year, and out of that number 190 were children, and that leaves much to be desired. And so the question is, are we winning the fight against human trafficking? Because Ghana risks losing some funding from the United States, and that's the Millennium Challenge Compact. Let's have this discussion. Welcome to Daily Rant.
It's very, very pathetic because out of the 338 victims, 339 victims and 190 children, it's very, very pathetic. It means there's a big problem which the government and other anti-human trafficking bodies need to tackle it head on. Because before you can treat illness, you first need to diagnose. So what's the cause? The cause is due to poverty or due to the economic action. And most of these human traffic agents don't come as they are coming to buy the children, or they come under the guise of helping the children. So I want to help your children, and maybe you also are not in a position to.
For how much? 100 Ghana, 50
so
Ghana?
they just give you something, some token, and said they would like to help the children. So they will come for the children, take them to maybe a course somewhere in other parts. They'll be going and doing all sorts of menial and odd jobs. And under severe and very pathetic conditions. If you happen to meet them working or come in contact with them, you never wish that person will fall in such a trap.
In any nation, the survival of that nation is based on the youth. And the youth are the children. So when such things are happening, and then it means the nation in the long time will collapse. Because we won't have the children, the youth to succeed us. You see, so in that aspect, you see, there should be drastic measures to be taken to curtail the menace. That's right. You see small children being taken to fish, to the deep sea to fish. You know, it's not encouraging at all. These children are supposed to go to school and then be educated so that they can succeed.
But would you blame their parents? Because there's not enough money, abject poverty. You can't even pay for your child's fees. And so if this comes, let's say you get this, you take your child out for let's say 200 cedis.
Yeah, definitely due to that, you know, lack of business work, you know, parents are tempted to go into that, you see. But you know, the government has to come in a job where that they can get some money so that they won't go into sending these children.
Trafficking is not good, very, very bad. But because of I want give and take, that is why. But it's not their willing, but force. Necessity will force you to do something that you don't like to do it, but to do it for your own. Then later on you regret to say.
Do they even regret? Do you think they regret?
Oh, yes.
Do some of these parents regret?
You know, they do it impulsively. They do it without thinking about the after effect. But later, when they find out that this is what the children went through, they do regret. But oh, maybe if I'd been a little bit about. And initially, when you give your son or your child out to someone, at least what you need to do is time in and time out. You need to check on the children. How is my children doing? So once upon a time, you also go and see how they're doing. But it's like when they give the children out, then they forget about the children. They forget about the children. They don't even think about it. So whatever situation the children are going through, the parents don't care.
And then, before they don't tell them the truth.
Yes, they come under the guise of I want to help
your child.
I want to help your child. And
you feel that is that, and if you give it to them, when they reach there, then they smell the pepper.
I know people who are now grown-ups who were taken to Akosombo, YGS to be precise,
on the boat.
In the boat, and the kind of it is very appalling. They don't get enough rest. They don't eat balanced diet.
So this is more like modern day slavery.
Yeah, it's in the 21st century.
Yeah.
They don't eat balanced diet. They don't get enough rest. When they are sick, they are given some tablets.
I know.
And they are being maltreated as well, because when there's a problem with the net, it means you have to dive deep into the water lake to go and rescue the net or do some patch up. And you could see very cold and harsh conditions, and these children are working.
You think it should be a collective effort, because US has ranked as a second-tier watch list country? It means our efforts are not encouraging.
In the village, in the past, when culture, tradition is being maintained, you know, this thing doesn't happen. You see, it doesn't happen.
So because of this human trafficking thing, we risk losing some funding from US. That is the Millennium Challenge Compact. And for me, I think we will miss it because education has not hit the hinterland, and so people don't still know the essence of stopping this menace.
So this is the responsibility of the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ministry of Women and Gender and Social Protection, Social Welfare, and anti trafficking agencies. Because they need to have more workshops. There are some people you talk to them about child trafficking, he doesn't know anything about child trafficking. When someone comes and said he wanted to help your children, let him or her take you to where he's taking them to. Then you also have contact with the person. So time in and time out, you'll be going to pay your children a visit. Don't let your poverty arraign you, because poverty is just a situation. You can definitely come out of poverty when you have the mindset.
People would know that poverty is a situation, because Charlie, if you know the stress and whatever they're going through,
you are poor because maybe things are not going on.
You might not think about this twice. If maybe some people come to you, like give them their child, you might not have a second thought.
Let me tell you, like the senior rightly said, in the olden days your brothers' children are your children.
Yeah.
Your sisters' children are your children. So when you are living in the big cities and you go to the villages, you can say, oh, I want to help your children.
Yeah, it's done.
So this is how the thing started. From the family values to now the community values. Because, oh, I know you to be doing well. So if you come to me and you say, you need to help me, I have no alternative other than to oblige.
If we are going to make bold and tell the security agency to do the right thing at the right time, we'll be free.
The public wants stakeholders, including the immigration, police service, and gender ministry, to be up and doing so. We nip this menace in the bud. Let's know what you also think watching home. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's News TV3. We came to you from Adabraka here at Accra. Thanks for watching, and have a good morning.
Welcome back, and let's get into our news review segment now. The Daily Graphic, as I told you earlier, says our banks are resilient. Speakers at Graphic Business Stanbic Bank Breakfast Forum assures public, and African countries urge to stop depending on aid from Europe and America. Government to assist more young entrepreneurs with a 60 million Ghana cedis allocated to fund their initiatives. And fishing vessels record zero catch. The Ghanaian Times says planting for food and jobs program goes to register for inputs, according to the Peasant Farmers Association. And beware of interest rates offered by financial institutions. Government launches innovation competition for young entrepreneurs. The Finder says Tor saga, the real truth. Minister and Tor board discussed new refinery on December 13, 2017. And the Daily Guide says Rolling snubs Mahama at NDC-DCE's conference. Ex-Deputy Governor defends NDC $0.6 billion dodgy deal. And finally, ride-hailing apps drive demand for small vehicles. My guest this morning is the NDC's member of our communication team, lawyer Abraham Bamaleba. Chief, good morning. How are you doing, Council?
Good.
Wonderful. Sweet shirt, man. Yeah, my shirts never came. It's okay. No, it's okay. That's fine. You are ready for court? I see. So, how's the Wednesday morning going?
It's fine. Just that I heard some bad news this morning that there are likely to be some increases in fuel prices. And I thought that was going to add to the burden of Ghanaians.
Okay.
When you consider the fact that ever since this government came, petrol prices have been increasing, and indeed, for just this year alone, it has increased by 10%. So let's brace ourselves for more difficult times. But the news this morning is bad.
Well, says it's bad. I don't know what your situation is, but you can always join us on WhatsApp 0508235228. We're still expecting Reverend John Ntimfo as MP for Asin South. He will join us on behalf of the NPP. When he does, we'll grant him a seat, and then we'll have the conversation. But Council, let's start with the Ghanaian Times. Planting for food and jobs. They told that ghosts are registering for inputs. The peasant farmers they're crying wolf, and I'd like to read a bit of the story for your attention so we can have the conversation. It says some unidentified persons in the Upper West region used identification cards of the dead and aged to register for inputs under the Planting for Food and Jobs program last year. A monetary report on the program compiled by Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, focal persons across the country disclosed that others used wrong names to register. And they blamed the Ministry for Food and Agriculture for poor collection of data and registration of farmers. The report said that the ministry would have a hard time tracing such persons to recover proceeds from the inputs supplied to them. Council, the project is yet to take full throttle, and these are the issues that are coming up. Ghost names are found themselves in there. Are you disturbed?
Well, let me start by saying good morning to all comrades of the NDC and to your viewers at large. You see, the program called Jobs for what?
Planting for
Food and Jobs. It's a very good program.
Right.
But the way the government is going about its implementation is what is problematic.
How?
Now, you have the Minister of Agric come out to give us figures which one would say are inaccurate figures about the program.
Right.
The minister was on air telling the people of this country that because the ministry has provided fertilizers and improved seeds, this has resulted in more employment, and that if somebody was not using fertilizer but is now using fertilizer, it will mean that you need 2 additional hands to apply the fertilizer to the farms.
Right.
And I find that very strange, because if the person who had his farm was doing that with his family, was already farming with his entire family, or 3 or 4 people from his family,
okay,
by merely providing fertilizer will not increase the number of people on that farm. For you to calculate that will mean that then as a result of the fertilizer supply, more people have been employed. Indeed, what you could say that may be an advantage or a good thing is because you have provided improved seedlings, there will be more yields. But we have also heard that even though the ministry came out to indicate that we've had bumper harvest this year,
right,
we've also heard these peasant farmers and even what do you call
this general agriculture's workers?
No, those who poultry farmers.
Okay.
Come out to say that there's shortage of maize in the system. Market women who who sell these products also say that there's shortage of these products in the market. So you have the ministry say one thing, and those on the ground say another thing. And I think that you may have a good program, but if you lace it with politics, the implementation would expose you.
Who do you trust at this
point?
And
this is I would lean towards those who are the beneficiaries, peasant farmers, who are saying no, this is not happening. I will lean towards those who are on the ground.
Okay.
And so for the minister and the ministry to come out and then, make it look like everything is rosy with the program is wrong. And I think that they should revise their nose and begin to tell the people the right thing. That's the same thing he talked about this armyworm,
right,
and said that it has been defeated. But we still know that there's armyworm in the system.
So, Council, there's impersonation here. Aged, dead people, data are being used to be able to grab the inputs. And it's not the first time it's happening. In the past, you know about the tricycles that President Mahama brought into the country, how they were supposed to be used in the farmlands. And now we have people using them for pure water and boiler business all over the place. Some people actually took it from the farms and brought it into the city center. What really is our problem as a country? That we make resources available to promote agriculture, people take it and they want to use it for something else. What is it? What do you know?
I think that it is because some of these things have other uses. When you talk about the tricycles, you could know that they could also be used for other purposes. For instance, in some communities, remote areas, they are used as means of transport,
right,
to carry people from the villages to the city centers. So for me, that is not entirely bad.
Right.
But with this issue, where inputs for agriculture purposes are being given to persons who are not in the area of farming, it's worrying. for me, the question to ask is, do you just go take the ID card of somebody and say he's a farmer and that ends it? Where are their background checks? Do they have extension officers who would go to the farms to ensure that these people actually are farmers before they give the inputs? Or, once again, it is about cronyism. Political party persons will just take opportunity because their party is in power and try to grab these things. So we need to find out from the Agric Ministry how these things are, why these things are happening, and why there are no background checks as to who are these persons that are receiving the inputs. Until then, people will still find ways and means of ensuring that they go in for these things when indeed they are not farmers. So the background checks, using Agric Extension officers to follow up, trace, to know whether the person who is claiming to be a farmer and is asking for the inputs is actually a farmer and has a farm.
Interesting. Let's move on now. Let's talk about Tema Oil Refinery. The Finder newspaper, Elvis Daku, Senior Elvis Daku says, Tor Saga, the real truth. Now, it is emerged that the idea of building a new 150,000 to 160,000 barrels per day capacity refinery, after which the existing infrastructure of the Tema Oil Refinery will be decommissioned and converted into a tank, was discussed as far back as December 13, 2017. Information gathered by the Finder indicates that Energy Minister Boakye Jaco discussed the issue with 5 out of the 8 members of the TOR board. The Solicitor Secretary of TOR was also present at that meeting. The agenda of the meeting included courtesy call, a sulfur content of the TOR products, preparations to restart TOR machines, the state of the refinery, as well as the strategic direction of TOR. So this, according to the minister, is not new, and that people are just tossing dust into the eyes of the public just to whip up, if you like, some bit of sentiment against the minister. What do you say? What do you see? What do you know?
I think there's confusion in TOR, and there's confusion at the ministry.
Right.
I am surprised and shocked that the TOR managing director and the minister for energy cannot be seen singing the same tune. I am shocked that the minister is saying they want to convert TOR into a tank farm, and then the managing director or the CEO of TOR is also resisting same. I think that it has nothing to do with communication. They speak to each other daily. In fact, they have not said that there is any inhibition in their communication. I think that what is happening is a clear case of the ministry imposing a policy on TOR and the CEO resisting. Simple as that.
5 out of 8 of the board members were met. Is that not enough? They formed a quorum, didn't they?
I'm saying that it has nothing to do with communication. You are saying that because the board members have been met, or they were met, it means that the indications are that the TOR CEO and TOR were aware of this new policy. And I'm saying that there is no problem of communication. I'm aware that the TOR CEO has indicated that he will resist any attempt to make it a tank farm, which means that he's aware they want to convert it into a tank farm.
Okay.
But is it prudent for the minister to want to convert TOR into a tank farm? It's just like saying that we should close down Cocoa Processing Center, a company, CPC, and make it a warehouse for cocoa. My understanding is that they want to build a new refinery.
Okay.
What stops the implementers of that program to include a tank farm into the new refinery? Can't we have more than one refinery in this country? Must we close down one refinery, convert it into a tank farm, and build a new one?
Indeed, the workers' union chairman has said that the refinery, and I've heard Mr. Jinapo as well, former deputy energy minister, say that the capacity of TOR, as it speaks now, has enough capacity to store fuel while it even refines some. So this whole tank farm saga is
as we speak. TOR has a tank farm. TOR came with a tank farm,
right?
And so for the new refinery,
why the need for a new one then?
No, as for a new one, we need a new one. We need more refineries. In fact, Nigeria has, with the discovery of oil, we will need more refineries.
Right.
Indeed, Nigeria has more than one refinery. But I think what is happening is that the attempt to convert TOR to a tank farm, for me, is a bad decision. The decision is bad because TOR has been revamped. TOR is producing as we speak.
Right.
TOR has not collapsed.
Okay.
And so if you want to build on, you don't destroy what you have. You can also build a new refinery and have a tank farm for that refinery. There's enough land, there's plenty of land that can accommodate this facility. And so it is wrong, it is bad for the ministry to be thinking of collapsing TOR and making it a tank farm. I think that is a very bad decision. And I think that it must be resisted. We must all support the CEO of TOR. I know he intends well. That's why he's resisting
but the CEO answers to the minister.
See, I am one person who believes that the instructions you take are lawful instructions.
Right.
You can disobey unlawful instructions. So if it's under him, but he sees that the decision taken is going to be detrimental to the people of this country, he has every right to resist it as he's doing.
Being joined by Reverend John Ntim-Forjour, is the MP for Asin South. He's joining us on behalf of the NPP. Rev, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing very well.
Nice one. So we started off with the Planting for Food and Jobs, where ghost names were told have found themselves into the list, and they are using the names of aged and persons who are deceased to apply for inputs. The peasant farmers are raising red flags. You want to take a quick bite before we get to talk?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and a good morning to yourself and my good friend Lawyer Maliba and our esteemed viewers. My condolences one more time to the victims, over 500 victims who were displaced from their homes and schools following some rainstorm that hit portions, 18 communities of Asin South last week. I visited the victims, I went around the communities, and we are mobilizing support. And so within this week, it's expected that NADMO will also collaborate with us to ensure that some very important relief items are presented to ensure some very critical homes are re-roofed and some educational facilities are also repaired for the dwelling of our people. Now, on the issue of planting for food and jobs, it is widely acknowledged that it is a very important policy that touches on agriculture, which is one of the major industries, one of the major sectors that we have in the country. Particularly, this policy comes to ensure that people that are involved in farming have access to implements, have access to seedlings, improved seedlings, fertilizers that will ensure that our yields increase. However, it is important that the adequate control measures are put in place to ensure that the policy achieves the maximum objective that it's intended to do. Now, of course, there may be some challenges that will characterize the implementation of every policy. However, when those challenges arise, it is important that certain revisions are done quickly to ensure that those challenges that have been anticipated or experienced are controlled going forward. In specific reference to the Planting for Food and Jobs, where allegations have been made about ghost names, sometimes not sometimes, in all cases, such implementations of policies are done by implementation agencies that are done by the civil servants. And I would have expected some more control to have been ensured even at the district levels. That
are the extension officers there? That's the question.
The process, I was heavily involved in my constituency. I was heavily involved in the registration process. Right. And I thought that this process could have been eliminated if there had been vigilance being from all stakeholders who were involved in
what happened in your constituency?
In my constituency, we facilitated for every farmer, whatever party that one affiliates with. Once you're a farmer, you go, we facilitate you. We have people who even came to various communities and ensured that their identification cards are checked, even where they live. There are people, the assembly members who know them, actually can even vouch for them. And then we mobilize all these farmers, we registered, and then we passed on information to the district agricultural office. And it's bulk. In my constituency, we registered close to 5,000 people.
So you did background checks for everybody.
Exactly. So with these checks, it is with these numbers, it is possible that right at the outset, in the registration process, if these controls are not put in place, and then people just jumping and a list is just given to the office of the district director of Agric, these goods names will find themselves in. The implication of this is that it was half subsidized. Farmers were supposed to pay half, government was supposed to pay half. The arrangement was that you pay a quarter. So you pay half of the half that the farmer is supposed to pay. Then after you yield, you sell your proceeds and then you go to pay the other quarter. Now what that has happened is that the quarter, which had to be paid back, may be difficult to recover in such cases. So going forward, there's been a revision such that now farmers would have to pay the half upfront, and then you take your implement and your goods. And then, but let me
our checks say that the reason you would have people put in ghost names and names of deceased persons is because the seedlings are expensive, the fertilizer is expensive, even at that subsidized rate of quarter and half. So they would want to use, for example, you would want to use Amaliba's name to be able to get one other half so that you can at least be better cushioned. What do you say to that?
No, it's not expensive. It was heavily subsidized, and even the half that was supposed to be paid if you had 2 acres of land, you would have to pay less than 50 cedis to be able to take that quota, and then subsequently when you sell your proceeds, you come to pay. Now that arrangement I thought was a very sensitive arrangement that was pro-poor, which shouldn't have been abused. But unfortunately,
what's the long-term plan to protect the system?
Yeah. So as I indicated, as a remedy measure, the new arrangement in the subsequent season was to ensure that farmers pay the half upfront, and then
are they able to afford the
There's
half?
been patronage. I mean, going around, I can speak from my constituency. The patronage is increasing, is very high, and then observing around the various parts of the country, patronage is increasing in exponential quantities. But let me debunk and dispel an erroneous impression that has been put forth by my good friend Lawyer Maliba. There were some concerns that were put out, which turned out to be falsehoods, causing scare that there's shortage of maize on the market. And there was a visit by the Deputy Minister of Agri to Techiman Market, and met the market people and traders and farmers who are involved in maize farming. And the farmers and the traders were concerned that their businesses are even risking being badly affected by those erroneous falsehoods that were put out there, contrary to the fact that there is adequate stock of maize in various warehouses that are ready and expecting.
So the maize is available out there in the warehouses, in the farms.
It's available.
Are they getting to the markets? That's the question. Because if I go to the market and I can't find the maize, I will assume that there's shortage, even if the warehouses are full and the farms are full.
No, there's adequate maize on the market, and that is why following that allegation, the deputy minister actually made the effort to visit them, to go to the grounds, that you are the farmers, you are the traders, you are the ones that put the maize on the market. On the contrary, we have adequate stock of maize, and if that erroneous impression is not corrected, it is going to scare potential buyers from even coming, because they are under the impression that even if they come to the market, they won't find maize, so they will sit in their factories, in their homes, and they will not come out.
Very well. Let's talk briefly about
for all those who consume maize in bulk quantities for various purposes, whether for poultry farming, whether for industrial use, for domestic use. There is maize. There was a hike in the price that was experienced, and that the commodity marketing has some price fluctuations at various seasons. When there's bumper harvest, the prices go down, and then sometime along the season prices go up. But in those seasons when prices go up, it's not an indication that there's shortage.
Right.
Yes. So
okay. Let's talk briefly about TOR. TOR is boiling. That's how I would describe it, because the CEO says he will resist any effort to convert TOR into a tank farm. The Workers' Union chairman says they are with the CEO. In fact, some section of civil society say, and energy analysts say, they agree with the CEO and the chairman. It looks as if the minister is on his own, despite the fact that he says he's met 5 out of the 8 board members. What do you say? Should it be converted into a tank farm or should it not?
Yeah, the decision to convert TOR into a tank farm and the decision to construct a new refinery, which will occasion that some adequate storage will have to be resorted. These are operational decisions which will have to be taken or premised on very extensive, consultations with stakeholders, and if such a policy would receive that buy-in from all stakeholders, one very important stakeholder to consider is TOR, and of course it is important that the ministry explores adequate engagement, opportunities for them to ensure that these matters are settled. The position of TOR will have to be ascertained in the future, and whether and the overall benefits that if this strategic decision is taken will inure to the nation, and the implications for TOR going forward. All these will have to be extensively assessed. I do not know.
Is the NPP not worried?
I do not know the extent of that analysis. Is
the NPP not worried that nearly everybody is not happy with this decision of a tank farm? The NDC is not happy. Civil society is not happy. Even within TOR, the CEO, they are not happy.
Yeah, the fact
that the minister perhaps back down on this intention.
Yeah, the fact that there have been very important concerns raised in this policy that was announced is an indication that some further engagement will have to be done. All stakeholders will have to engage around, and the NPP is a listening government. There are instances where certain intended policies had to, been opened up for discussions, and in the end, there had been some very important reviews which were considered, which were factored, and then the policy revised accordingly to reflect the larger interest of the Ghanaian public, the larger interest of the stakeholders relevant to the sector. And I believe that in this particular case, there will be extensive engagement. I am not too pleased about the exchanges. The ministry may make an announcement and a claim, and then TOR also comes to give a contrary view and all that. I think that some of these could in-house be resolved, since TOR is a very important enterprise under the Ministry of Energy. There could be that in-house engagement. That is what I encourage, such that if there are some information to be exchanged and certain disagreements, there will be that opportunity to be offered, and then in the end the decision that will eventually be taken will be one that is acceptable by various stakeholders that are relevant, will be one that will inure to the larger interest of Ghana.
I'm grateful. Let's tell
a small point. There's an issue of shortage of maize, and
he said there is not.
We need to be candid to the people of this country.
He said there is not. The minister
Ghana Web, May 14th, 2018. Stop talking and show us where to buy maize. Farmers slam deputy minister.
Which farmers are those?
So Nana Opong Ajay, who is the president of the Poultry Farmers Association, has challenged the deputy minister in charge of agri to give them locations to where they can purchase maize for their poultry.
Market, now, Reverend says,
you expect a minister who goes around to markets, see shortage of the product, to come back and tell you that there's really shortage.
He was quoting the market women at Teshima Market.
I'm just asking you. Media men have gone to these markets and have reported that there is shortage.
Okay.
Media men have gone. You think that a ministry that always denies the existence of certain facts. An example of is the army worm. When his boss, the deputy minister's boss, told the people of this country that the army worm has been conquered, only for us to see them hovering around. You think that ministry, with that reputation, would come out to tell the people of this country that there is enough maize, and we believe that? Well, the people, hunger. When hunger catches you, the people know what to say. So the people who are buying the maize know whether or not
the poultry farmers say there's no maize. Your word against theirs and what's on the ground.
This assertion was made, and then the farmers and the association.
Today is 16th.
Came out.
This 2 days ago.
Let me make this is a very
These 2 days
issue that can easily be resolved. Okay. The Poultry Farmers Association are simply demanding feed, and so if it is available, the ministry should quickly mobilize and facilitate such.
Do you know if this feed is available? Do you know?
I just submitted at the outset of my submission that the minister actually went to.
When is that? Because this is 2 days ago.
This morning was all over in media reviews, and the report had been given.
We have not reported on that. We have not reported
on my way. It's all over in the news analysis. Okay. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the concern of the Poultry Farmers Association is that we do not have feed. Okay. So if there are, and see, sometimes in commodity marketing, there are certain hoarding. So some traders may hoard large quantities, and that will create certain, short supply just to increase the price. And then when the price goes to the extent that they are pleased with, they release them. These are market dynamics. Okay. But however, whatever market dynamics that is pertaining, it is the responsibility of the to ensure that there's that control and there's that arrangement to ensure that these poultry farmers need feed. Let's arrange, and the farmers, there have been farmers and traders who have also announced that they have
to give to them.
So let's facilitate that trade.
Page 19 of the Daily Graphic says NAPCO personnel to get first employment in public sector. The technical economic advisor to the Vice President, Dr. Samuel Kwadwo Frimpong, has said beneficiaries of the National Nation Builders Corps, NAPCO, will be the first to be considered for government employment should there be employment opportunities in the public sector. His assertion was based on the fact that they would have the required skills and experience needed in the public service to implement the various government policies geared towards building a strong economy. Let's start off with this one. So the technical advisor to the Vice President is also sure when the first set of jobs will be available to the Nation Builders Corps. But then he says that they will have the first opportunity. And I'd want us to juxtapose the two. Those who have been given financial accruals in the past, who are waiting for postings, and those who are now coming in as new entrants who are not sure when the jobs will be available. Is this something to hope on and to grab onto?
Is this what the MPP promised the unemployed youth of this country? This is not what they promised them. The MPP promised the youth of this country jobs. But what are we seeing? They are giving them temporary jobs. That's not what the MPP promised.
Okay.
And if you look at all the promises the MPP have made, coming into power, they have tampered with the promises.
Free SHS is on course, is it not?
Free SHS. Should I tell you how they have tampered with it? They said they were going to make free SHS free for all. It turned out to just be first years. So there's a parent who voted for Nana Akufo-Addo because his ward is in the second year and is going to the third year and would have benefited. That's how come he voted. Now, today, they are only applying it to the first year. So all the promises, they have tinkered with it. That's not what
But the new students will come in September.
I am saying that there is a parent. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
I'm not saying that that is the end of admissions in Ghana. I've not said that. I've not said that after this admission, that will be the end. I'm saying that there was a parent who, in 2016,
who was hopeful,
voted because his ward it's in the first year, and we'll enjoy it in the second year, and we'll enjoy it in the third year. That's my point.
Okay. So now, let's talk about NABCO. Allow him to.
NABCO.
Okay, hold on. Let Amma read a few comments. Doc, welcome.
Thank you.
What do we have?
Some, viewers have sent in some messages and we'll take that now. Ramadan Kareem to all Muslim brothers and sisters. This is coming from Abdul Mumin from Tamale. Also, good morning, Johnny. The Planting for Food and Jobs program cannot be said to have succeeded in last year. He says, for example, the inputs went mostly to political party apparatus who smuggled them out of the country. Today, there's a general shortage of foodstuff and the price of maize is already above 140 cedis, he says, which is unprecedented. We have worse days to come. Watch out. This is coming from Isahaku in Tamale. Also from Al Hassan Wanwana in Wa, he says the Planting for Food and Jobs program helped we the farmers in the Upper West so much. The fall army worm did not destroy our farms, he says. This government lied that they have released money for the payment of teachers' salary arrears since February, and we're now in May. Nothing is going on. If they think they can deceive teachers, they should have a rethink, because we are going to mobilize ourselves to the ministry to demonstrate so that they would know that we are serious. They can buy our union leaders to close their mouth, but over 10,000 teachers whose monies are with them will never rest until the money is paid. We are tired of their lies. That's coming from Senor in Adidome. Also, Ghanaians are well discerning to be swallowed by cheap propaganda lies and deceit of the ruling MPP. This government must be kicked out to bring serious government. Nana Addo is not in control. His appointees, especially his family and friends, ministers, are now a thorn in the flesh, and he can't reshuffle them nor remove them when they are corrupt. That's coming from Alhaji Willie P in Efiakuma. Then TV3, please tell your host Johnny that Mahama tricycles are Maslock and they are hardly to be found in the pure water business we use. He said Royal in Luojia, which belongs to individuals and not for government. That's coming from Bright Luther. Well, thank you there. Good morning, TV3. In fact, this government is really doing great work. However, government should eliminate nurses from the NABCO program and rather build more clinics and hospitals to occupy them. This is coming from Samuel Joe Nyame from Shama Api Menyim. That's in the Western region. Then finally, he's from Dr. Abedi Kwadaso, aka Big Joe Shoes. He says, good morning, champion host. Thanks to Chief Justice for warning judicial staff not to take money to pervert justice. But I'm not surprised 18 killed in road accidents in Kumasi, since our roads are manholes. I think the road minister should try and help us construct better roads to avoid future occurrences. Hi to Reverend. This is from Samuel. Okay, hi to Reverend Samuel Mensah. Well, he's sending out shout outs there. Maybe a final one before we wrap up. He says, from Mystic Inside in Sawam, greetings to you and your crew. I think Bank of Ghana is sleeping on its job, especially the Supervision and Monitoring Department. You don't just give license to institutions to operate without monitoring and supervision. People become victims due to negligence of Bank of Ghana and poor supervisory and monitoring role. At least we all know of DKM and other ones. Bank of Ghana should be proactive instead of being reactive. God save. Greetings to Honorable Okujatora Blackwan, people of Mepe in the North Tongu constituency.
I thank you very much, the people of North Tongu here. But a bit of clarification. Well, I mentioned the tricycles. Maslock is a government initiative to help private businesses. Yes, it is. But there were different modules under Maslock. I'm talking about the aspect that was supposed to be used for agriculture and all of that. Now, do you know also that Maslock is still going around trying to recoup these monies from the persons who collected the motorbikes? So it is not, I'm using that to juxtapose what's happening in Planting for Food and Jobs. That people go and pick the fertilizer and the inputs and they're not able to pay back, and we will have to pay. Those of us who pay taxes, where money is used for it, we have to pay for it. So Amaliba was on NABCO. Let him have his take on NABCO. You have your take on NABCO and then we'll wrap up. Amaliba, let's talk about NABCO. We are not certain when the first jobs will come, but we're told by the Vice President's assistants that when the first jobs come, those who have financial clearance may not necessarily get the first one. It is the NABCO guys that will get it. What do you say?
I think that
was not impression. That was not what.
That is adding to the confusion. If that is the case.
I've read it.
So let me read. It says the technical advisor to the Vice President, Dr. Samuel Kwejo Frimpong, has said that the beneficiaries of the National Builders Corps will be the first to be considered for government employment should there be employment opportunities in the public sector.
Yeah. So that does not talk about.
They will be the first to be considered.
I'll make a point.
Great.
On that.
You see, this is simple English. If you are the first, it means you are the one to be given priority before others. And so if there is financial clearance for somebody, but he will play second fiddle when it comes to the employment opportunities, then it adds on to the confusion. I think that, once again, governance is being done as and when we go on. There seems not to be a policy document which is so clear for everybody to know about this NABCOP. You remember, when they first came out with this NABCOP, they said they weren't going to pay Senate. When people drew their attention to the illegality, because the law does not allow that, they said, okay, they woke up from their slumber and said, okay, now they'll pay Senate. What has happened to deep thinking? What has happened to proper thinking? Who are in charge? Is it why people say the president is not in charge and that his appointees are doing what they want?
Is it wrong for somebody to call the attention of government and say, oh, you should have done this, you haven't done it? Is it wrong to have a public conversation?
These are rudiments. Certain things are so basic that before you come out with a policy, you have dealt with those ones. The things that you say government attention must be drawn to are complex issues. But everybody knows that once you work in this country, you pay your income tax, you pay your Senate.
You have to take it.
Now, see, they've now decided that out of how much that is 700?
Yes, 700.
They will now pay income tax. They will now pay Senate. The question to ask is, how much are they truly going to send home? It is no longer going to be 700. We are told, you just read it, that financial clearance can be given to somebody, but those who are already in the system and the NABCOP will be given the priority.
Rev, you have your take.
That is erroneous, and that
you
is
have your take, Rev.
Item captured.
You have your take.
Just be patient. Just be patient.
No, that's important.
Just be patient. We are only two of us here.
Okay,
after this
we're wrapping up the show.
So I think that there's confusion.
Okay.
There is no clarity in what you've just read out. It adds on to the confusion in the implementation.
That should be hopeful to the NABCO folks, those who take advantage of it. That, well, when the jobs come,
they just told us that the NABCO is voluntary. They told us that NABCO is voluntary.
But they have been encouraged to join.
Their attempt to rope in the nurses, which for me was one of the bad policies, to rope in nurses into the program, is what has made them to say it is voluntary.
But if it's voluntary and the nurses want to join, why
it is wrong. When a lawyer goes to the law school, he doesn't become a youth employment lawyer. When the police goes to the police training college, training school, he doesn't become a police youth employer.
Any less a lawyer? Does it make you any less a lawyer?
Yes, it makes me less a lawyer if you rope me into youth employment lawyer.
Okay.
Now,
Ref.
Yeah, thank you. I must admit and
you say there's
I must dispel that. I've read a news item. Nowhere has it stated, attributed to the gentleman.
I'm not attributing it to
him. Not. But the impression, I mean, per the submissions coming, I must dispel that there was nowhere that in the policy it is stated that
there's no policy. When you say a policy,
to be, it's going to take priority over any other professional.
Is there a policy?
Let me submit.
Is there a policy?
I understand. Let us
respond to my question. No, my question is there a policy?
I would answer all that if you allow me to make my submission.
We don't have too much time. That's what I'm asking you.
No, you have allowed more than 20 minutes for this submission. It's my turn.
But
even if it's 5 minutes that you're giving me, will you
allow me to ask my question? I didn't ask a question before you started speaking.
Okay.
I'm saying that you're saying that there's nowhere in the policy. I'm asking you, is there a NABCO policy?
Let me, if you permit me to make my submission. Now, NABCO is a program that has come to offer employment for 100,000 youth.
That is not a doubt. Is there a policy?
Now, I understand how the reaction of the NDC to this, because job employment provision is a major threat.
Is there
a major threat to the NDC?
NABCO?
And so when it comes to the issue of NABCO, let me submit, between 1.5 years that MPP has been in power, clearances have been offered, and 16,500 people have been offered employment within the nurses training.
Is there a policy for
have been employed? And these plans are in place to employ additional 10,000 nurses.
Is there a policy for NABCO?
There are various documents that are.
Is there a policy for NABCO? That's my simple question. You have not answered.
It is a policy.
Okay.
There's found expression in the budget. There are various documents that have
budget is a policy for NABCO.
Okay.
Budget is a policy from NABCO. Budget is a policy for NABCO.
Let me educate you. The budget is a
you are miseducating yourself. The budget is a policy for NABCO.
Now, in all fairness, let me just make my submission. For the past 8 years, that graduates were not employed. If 50,000 graduates had been employed every 3 years, the unemployment situation in Ghana wouldn't be as it is.
That's not
now going forward. That's unemployment is very critical. There are people with double master's degrees. There are people who have completed various institutions, graduated with double degrees, who are carrying their certificates for the past 6 years, for the past 8 years, for the past 7 years, just even looking for unpaid internship, just to be able to acquire that employable skill, just to be able to acquire that experience that will make them competitive should any opening arise either in the public sector or in the private sector. If we have had such an important intervention the last 10 years, the last 15 years, the last 8 years, the last 6 years, we wouldn't have this problem.
So this is good. What's the plan?
And I am pleased.
What's the plan, Reverend? What's the plan for those who already have financial clearance from 2012, 2013 down the lane to 2016? What happens to them?
People who have financial clearances have been already employed. Now there are plans.
All of them. The nurses were out there to circle.
Yeah, those who have not been employed are people who do not have financial clearance, and additional 10,000 arrangement is being made this particular year to add up to the 16,500. NDC should tell us within 8 years how many nurses did they employ within the space of 1.5 years. We have been able to employ 16,500 nurses, an additional 10,000 that is coming up. Now we are also over 1 million jobs have been created by records from SNIT, by records from the Ministry of Labour. So this is a government that has not reneged on his promises. The free SHS that my brother mentioned. We have a 4-year tenure. And within the first year, it has started. By the third year,
is that what you promised Ghanaians?
That is what we promised Ghanaians.
Lie. Everybody,
I understand
everybody in the MPP lies.
Take exception to your
from everybody lies. From the president, vice, everybody lies.
You can't say that the president is a liar.
They are a lying government.
Thank you.
They are a lying government. Everybody in the MPP lies.
Let's wrap up.
Everybody lies. Everybody lies in the MPP lies.
Amaliba, you can't say the president is a liar. That's not fair. Hold on, Rev. Amaliba, that's unfair to our president.
I am saying that everybody in the MPP lies to the people of this country.
Let's respect our president. Can we apologize to the president? I beg you. Please. Let's apologize to the president.
How many times
we can't call the president a liar?
People have started on this program. MP people have called former President Mahama incompetent.
And I have told them to apologize to him. So I have told them to apologize. I'm asking you to apologize to the president.
Okay, I apologize. But they peddle on truths.
Okay, so we're done. Thank you very much, gentlemen. But there's supposed to be a ban on drumming and noise making. We'll wrap up on this. A ban on drumming and noise making. The MPP says it is a truthful and lawful party. I have seen some of your national executive aspirants blatantly disregarding the ban on drumming and noise making, playing brass band and submitting their forms at your party headquarters. Is that what a party endorses?
It's a lawless party, you know that.
No, this impression must be dispelled. MPP is not a lawless party.
It's a lawless party.
MPP is a law-abiding party. MPP is a party
who
exists and respects and upholds the values and traditions.
Why can't they uphold the values of the traditional council?
And there couldn't be any party that respects our traditions in the
manner. You know what they did to Ashanti, showing disrespect to the Ashanti.
MPP has not flouted any.
The cousins of
they have not flouted it. Yesterday they were playing Monday. I saw Dominic Edia. Yesterday I saw Kamal D. Abdullahi.
That's what they do.
I saw Nana B. You say it is wrong.
That's what they do.
It's an impression. We showed it on TV this morning.
It is their stock in trade.
If you have made any such observations, If you have made
no, it's shown on TV this morning.
My appeal
is their stock in trade.
Is that
you are not appealing.
Every candidate.
Thank you very much, lawyer Abraham Abaliba. Is with the NDC, and also the Reverend John Intim Fojo is with the MPP, is Asin South, a member of Parliament. He says that what we saw and showed to you on television is an erroneous impression. And so they are disturbing when there's ban on drumming and noise making. We'll be back after this break.
I haven't said it is erroneous. And ensures the functionality of the built environment.
Well, I mean, Ibrahim, I'll come to you on that, because then it looks like in Ghana we don't do too well. We don't understand when it comes to the management culture, because I mean, I build a house and I can leave it for as many days as possible until maybe there's a funeral, someone decides to paint, plant a few flowers, and then is that really what it means to manage a facility?
No, Doc. Facilities management is a whole profession on its own. It's a whole management tool. Now we are taking it strategic. Right. Because let's say you build your house. Let me not go even into profession, but let's take it the home. You build your house today. You forget that the building will not take care of itself. Right. You would have to take care of it, and we don't provide any budget for the building. We can stay in a house for 10 years, it hasn't been painted. Some of us that have air conditioners, I can tell you that probably for 3 years, nobody has serviced that air conditioner. What would only happen when an air conditioning technician comes to the air conditioner is when the air conditioning breaks down. That is what we are talking about. But in facilities management, it's a process to make sure that the item or the facility or the built environment is taken care of its lifetime, so that you can get profit for it. That's what we are talking about.
From how you speak about it, then obviously it's not something you just get up and learn. It's something that has to be ingrained in you right from childhood to be able to appreciate this culture of maintenance or management of a facility, isn't it? Then aren't we failing as a country?
We are failing, but all is not lost yet. Yeah, we are here, and therefore all is not lost yet. That is the awareness that we are creating as facilities managers. That when we talk of lack of maintenance culture, we don't have that. What we don't have is education, is training of our manpower to manage our facilities. You see, a building may function very well if you have professionals managing it. And you see, a building affects our health.
It does.
You see, it helps us in safety, and then also it helps us in our productivity as organization and businesses and government. Okay, and therefore, if we don't put in place major processes and strategies to manage it, it goes a long way in affecting us.
Very well. But we are celebrating the day. So what are we expected to do as citizens, and what is your body also doing for us?
So today we are organizing the celebration at the Coconut Grove Regency Hotel. We've invited, across the industry, so from education, from service providers. On this point, let me say a very big thank you to AFAMID Facilities Management Services. They've been of great help to organize today's celebration. And so it's coming off 10 o'clock at the Coconut Grove Regency Hotel, and we're going to brainstorm a lot and educate Ghana about facilities management and the values that it brings to our built environment.
Very well. So Ibrahim, are we looking forward that maybe 5 years down the line we'll start publishing names of facilities that are not being managed well? Could that be done?
Yes, that should be the benchmark now. Because you know, when the government says it's driving foreign direct investment, these don't happen in the air. They happen in built environment. And if there are no professionals to take care of these built environment, in the near future, the country will not even benefit from those investments. Because if we put up $1 million building and nobody takes care of it, and in 5 years it breaks down, then where have we gone? So we, as the facilities managers, are trying to bring to limelight our experience that, hey, government, we can do this, so engage us. Or there are people who across the country, there are people who have been trained to do that. So I think that once we engage them, we should be doing better.
Okay, but you tell me, I mean, the association seems to encompass quite a large range of people, and so I'm wondering, supposing from the education you've just given me, I recognize that I need a facility management. How do I contact one or reach out to a person like that?
Okay, so thank God the Association of the International Facilities Management is here in Accra. The Greater Accra chapter is here, and therefore you can contact us for any advice and directions in the area of facilities managers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But moving forward, we spoke about the education. So supposing the government took upon itself to educate, what kind of education would you would you want to hear? Is it that, okay, my windows have to be changed every year, my doors have to be painted? What exactly is it?
Facilities management is a process.
Okay.
It's not a one-stop thing. So if you have a facilities manager, there's a plan to take care of everything. So once the plan is there and there's somebody who is supposed to implement those plans, perfect. Everybody would be safe. As in this studio, if the climate is not very conducive, we will not be sitting here.
We certainly won't.
The facilities manager is doing his work in this studio, I should say. Yes.
Anyway,
just one point to add to what Ibrahim just said. We buy a common phone and it comes with a manual.
Right.
We build a facility, I mean millions and thousands of dollars, and it doesn't come with a manual.
Right.
What we are saying to government is that all the initiatives and policies they are rolling out, the one district, one factory, whatever, one dam, these are very expensive projects.
Right.
And therefore, when they are commissioning it, they must come with maintenance manual.
Right.
To manage the facility so that they will last their lifetime. The total life cycle of the facility must be achieved.
Right.
We shouldn't think only of the initial cost, but the life cycle of the facility.
Very well. I'd like to thank you guys for
let me chip in finally. Today's event is happening at the Coconut Grove Regency Hotel at Rage. And then on Saturday, we would have a socialization thing for all facilities management and anybody that can come at the Junction Mall at Nungwa. So we expect all facilities management. It starts at 7 a.m. with some aerobics, and then in the afternoon we'll have some chip chat and networking and some item 30s as well. So I'd like to say thank you to the Junction Mall and then to the healthcare pharmacy at the Junction Mall.
And of course to
TV3. Yes, I can never go without you. TV3, you have been very supportive.
Very supportive.
From the day we launched our program till today. And I know we'll be partners.
We certainly will be, and we already are. Thank you so much to Samson Opari-Agyemang. He is the president for International Facility Management Association, Greater Accra chapter, and also Ibrahim Bote. He's a member of the IFMA. You certainly want to learn a thing or two about managing your facility to keep it for its lifespan. We'll take a break. We'll be back with...
Welcome back. A big fat happy birthday to Afaribia of the Legon Leo Club from Mokaila, your president. To Selom Amenya, court correspondent, and a belated one to Chen Cheng Hine, our own brother at Ghana Web. Happy birthday to all of you. Let's get into the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. We've been joined by the Director General, Paul Asare Ansah. Chief, good morning. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Great, and congratulations. We haven't met after the IPR ball.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations. How's the award faring?
Oh yeah, it's motivating us to do more.
I see.
Yes.
What more are you doing at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority? First, tell me, how is it doing there?
What we are doing very well. The paperless has come to the paperless system of clearing cargo has come to introduce new dynamism into our business, and so far all the strategic interventions that we are rolling to make things better are working well.
Right.
The cost-cutting interventions, you could see that the cost of doing business has gone, low. Our administrative costs and all that, at the same time that we are growing incomes.
Okay.
And that's the bottom line of every business. But then our business processes have also improved.
Okay.
And that has translated into minimization from our perspective, lowering the cost of doing business. It has led to expediting the clearance process. The delays have gone down, and revenues have also improved. So for us, so far we are not doing badly at all.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's pick the issues one after the other. How is the paperless system doing at this point? We know that it was started on a pilot basis. It had its own set of challenges. But what is its current state at this point?
Well, we did not have the opportunity to pilot.
Okay.
You know, but we went straight away, and it had its own challenges.
So the talk by some elements of the previous government that it was piloted during their time around the 2015-2016 is not correct?
No, there was no pilot. There was no pilot in all the computerized programs that we put in place were done within a very short time.
Right.
You know, this year. I mean, nobody can take the credit away from the vice president.
Right.
Yeah, he took the badly needed initiative. In fact, we needed to, we needed a central authority, a coordinating factor to put together, or to bring together all the stakeholder agencies.
Right.
Right. To let us appreciate the fact that we cannot do things the way we used to do. I mean, we had multiplicity of agencies, each of them having its own regulatory instruments, entitling them to do what they are doing in a manner they would want to do it.
Right.
And no matter what level of consultation and engagement to change, you know, those entrenched cultural practices. And then when the vice president put us together and directed that, hey, change the way you are doing it, get away with the papers, and let it be computerized way of doing it, paperless way of doing it. Everybody had that understanding that we are going to a different direction. And hey, everybody had to comply because there were consequences for non-compliance.
You had previously been the head of communications at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority.
Marketing and communication.
Marketing and communication. So did we need a vice president to come to tell us
absolutely
that this was the problem?
We knew the problem. Everybody knew the problem. But I was always calling for a central coordinating factor.
Why were we not getting it?
We're not getting it because each agency operating in the port is an independent agency.
Right.
And they have their own legislative instruments. If national security or customs says this is how we want to do this to achieve that, you cannot influence a change of that way of doing it. Although we knew that there was the need to do things differently because we have visited various ports.
Right.
Just around us, Lome was employing the paperless, system.
Right.
Cotonou was employing the paperless system. Of course, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, they were struggling. We knew. In our own system, we had employed some automation, business process automation, in various aspects. We had security systems were automated. Operational systems, we had introduced some level of automation, though there's still more to be done.
Okay.
Right. In management system, also the enterprise resource and the planning, we were using automation. But that is at the organizational level.
Okay.
But we needed an integrated computerized system to drive the cargo clearance process. And that was what was lacking.
What has been the hiccup, one major challenge, as you would be able to pinpoint for us, of the paperless system now? Yes, it's helping with revenue generation, it's helping with coordination, but what is the downturn? Do we have any?
Systems integration is one problem.
Okay.
To get our systems to talk with each other effectively and efficiently, there's still some room for improvement. Right. There are certain aspects that still paper is introduced at certain point by certain agencies, and we are also compelled to take the paper and to continue to process. We have had stakeholder engagements to identify these challenges, which we are working on. Then also the Francophone countries call the paperless system guichet unique.
Okay.
Guichet unique means that there's one system service provider.
Okay.
Right. We don't have anything like the West Blue, GCNet, and others who are coming in. There's only one single driver, which is driving the process, and so everything is attributed to them. But sometimes you don't know which of the service providers has to provide. You need to fall on. Exactly. And that is also a major challenge. So going forward, we definitely have to reconcile, harmonize those systems, so that
do we have plans for that?
Well, that one is the Ministry of Trade and Customs. Right. Yes, they will have to decide on how to harmonize those systems. Of course, we have been engaging with each other. There was one occasion where we called for dialogue, agency to agency dialogue between us and Customs, where we identified a lot of the challenges which we are addressing one after the other.
Okay, hold on, sir, for me. Let's go on to the telephone line to speak with Samson Awigobet, who is Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Samson, good morning, and thank you very much indeed for your time.
Good morning, and good morning to your shareholders listeners. And let me say a very big good morning to my senior comrade and friend, Director General of Ghana Port and Harbour. I'm told he's in your studio there.
Absolutely, he's here. Something.
Okay, but you guys have ambushed me. I've just been called a few seconds ago by your producer.
Something. We work with you. When you have issues and you ambush us, we don't complain. So it's 1-1 draw. so tell me. Off the top of your mind, if I ask you to enumerate 3 challenges that importers and exporters face at their ports, what would you say these are?
Well, then you put me at a fixed corner. I don't know. Well, I don't know which areas that you are discussing with the DJ of GPHA this morning.
Broad spectrum, paperless system. Paperless system is one. High cost, perhaps, of import and export is another. And then we're looking at the multiplicity of agencies operating at the ports. What would your questions be if you had 3 concerns to raise?
Well, quite clearly, in the cost of doing business in the port, I must say, does not. Sometimes when they say cost of doing business in the port, then someone thinks that it's about Ghana Port and Harbour Authority. The Ghana Port and Harbour Authority is just a landlord, and so though they are also contributing to, in terms of rent collections of from importers and other fees and charges, but there are other agencies and other players in the industry that are also operating in the port, and sometimes there are fees and charges to also warrant up for us to talk about the ease of doing business in the port. I must say the current recent increment of the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority tariff, we made it all stakeholders applaud the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority for listening to us. Indeed, they were supposed to implement their new tariff sometime February this year or so. Because of this, we have pushed them to tell them that, look, it wasn't good for the importing and exporting community. However, we also appreciated that the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority for the past 3 years have not also increased their tariff. Meanwhile, they are investing and they continue to make the port beneficial for importers and exporters to use. Though we still think that it should do something about their tariff. Indeed, most of their tariff was last, and even on export, they never increased, because the last time we had a meeting with the Director General to talk about export, as compared to the import that comes to the country and then the export that leaves this country, we think that it was something insignificant, and we needed to improve in our export. So they did not even increase any tariff on the new tariff that they've just implemented quite recently for export. So that is a good thing that we must say kudos to the GPHA and the management.
Finally, what would your concern be?
You come to the service providers, as we just made mention. We know that currently we are working with the GCNet and West Blues platform. Though the rumor that is out there talking about the Unipass, of course, I said somewhere that because no government has engaged us, no service provider has engaged us about the Unipass. For me, as a professional advocate, I wouldn't want to bedevil into that advocacy to say that there's a triple single window when we don't have a triple single window at the moment in the port. That's a rumor, and the Minister of Trade hasn't come out to tell us anything, nor the service provider come out to tell us anything. As we speak, if we have challenges, we may have challenges on the West Blue platform. Sometimes in terms of when they are doing compliance. Of course, mind you, if you want to clear goods at the port today, and you are an importer, you hand over all your documents to an agent. Then the agent that have the platform will have to do an entry to custom head office. Indeed, as you are aware, that there's no longer the long room in Tema Port here. So when they do the entry, the custom head office, we call place STB or so, Tenka TBST, something like that, the Tenka Build Center, where they will produce your CCVR for you, and then for you to go and pay the duty at the end of the bank, and then send it back compliance to be given to you before you can go and make a request on the gigs so that you can go and do examination in the port. So sometimes compliance delay, and that is where most of the agents and importers do complain. Apart from that, there are also other charges from the shipping companies that sometimes washing of container, evacuation of container, and of course the demurrage, the almighty demurrage that we are all talking about. I'm sure you heard the Gutta did something like that some few weeks ago, and today AGI is also doing something about demurrage. I think last year alone, if my memory serves me right, and I'm sure the Director General is sitting in the office there, in your studio there, will confirm that about $75 million was paid out of demurrage in Ghana here. And when they say demurrage, it is not rent. If it's rent, like to Ghana Port and Authority, we say the money stay in this country. But if the word is demurrage, it means that it's for the shipping company. And so the shipping company will have to repatriate all this money back to their principal. Mind you, their principals got no a shipping company in this country. So all the multinational companies are here to make.
Samson Awegobeta, thank you very much. He's the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. So he was giving you some plaudits there, Mr. Sassari. That should feel good for you at this point, isn't it? Yeah. But he raised some critical issues. The expense of conducting business at the port. Why is it so expensive?
No, so far as the ports and harbors is concerned, our tariffs are very, very competitive.
Okay.
Our cost of doing business is minimal. I mean, within the sub-regional context. I think what he was talking about was the duty and the demurrage, which we don't collect.
Okay.
You know, the duty is the taxes, the taxes, the customs duties, the import duties that people pay on their import, and then the demurrage is what is paid to the shipping lines,
shipping companies.
Yes, the shipping companies. When you delay in picking your container or picking the goods from your container, then they have charges or penalties that they slap on you for every day that you keep your goods.
But you are the landlord. Yes. The land is for you. These are your tenants who are charging other tenants for neck-breaking rates. Does it concern you?
Absolutely.
That this demurrage is so high, the money has to be repatriated into their home countries and not necessarily into our economy.
Absolutely, because the totality of all these charges translates into the cost of doing business in the port.
Right.
And so it is of very much concern to us. Unfortunately, we don't have the legal authorization to regulate charges of all these agencies. It's the Ghana Shippers Authority that has the legal authorization to do that.
Right.
Even they regulate, Ghana Shippers Authority regulates our tariffs.
Absolutely.
Before we increased our tariffs slightly, we had to engage with Ghana Shippers Authority that looked at our proposals, and then they brought down the proposals to a level that they believed would be acceptable. So we engage with the shipping lines regularly and let them appreciate. Sometimes we have even petitioned customs.
Okay.
Sometimes we have petitioned even the Vice President's office about the cost of doing business. As at now, I know the last time we had a meeting, Ghana Shippers Authority was asked to coordinate an activity that would identify the various cost elements with a view to taking some action to bring down the cost of doing business.
Right.
So something is being done.
When are we to see the implementation of what is being done, a realization of what is being done? Do we know?
Well, that is...
there are no timelines to it?
No, not yet. That is exactly what Ghana Shippers Authority is doing.
Right.
So we believe that we've identified all the areas that must be taken into consideration.
Let's go back to the initial conversation, the multiplicity of agencies which brought about the Goro boys, if you will. Has the paperless system completely wiped out the era of the Goro boys?
To some extent. To some extent. I'm saying this because in the past we used to have a lot of people who did not have the the right documents, I mean, in terms of certification, to do certain things in the port, especially the freight forwarding business.
Right.
And that was where we had the Guru Boys operating. Now, the coming of the paperless spread some panic among those guys. Because they believed that the paperless was going to wipe them off. But then, there are two things to do.
Was that the intention of the paperless?
No, that was not the intention. The intention of the paperless was to introduce a new level of efficiency in the cargo clearance system or forwarding system. So
two things that happened, right?
So when the paperless came, it eliminated the person-to-person contact.
Right.
So the smart ones among them had to align with those who had the customs authorization to operate as freight forwarders and who had the code that would have to they would have to input into their documentation, their online documentation. So those who were smart, they had business. It's a matter of aligning with those who had the authorization.
So they could benefit from it.
So they could equally benefit from it. So many of them who could do that are in business. Others also who could go to school to acquire some technical know-how and then apply to customs for certification. Others have also done that, and they are in direct business. So they were not really affected. The concern now is how to activate the one of the pillars of the paperless system,
which
is the joint examination for all the agencies involved in examining cargo to come together, to come together so that they examine the cargo once and for all, so that you can have national security, BNI, customs. If the narcotic control board should be involved, they should be there.
FDA, everybody else.
They should be there at the same time, so that after examining the cargo, nobody would go and cross the cargo anywhere or somewhere and say that we suspect this, we suspect that. So that at the time of the joint examination, if you had any cause for suspicion, if you have had any tip-off that should warrant a deeper look or deeper examination beyond what is normally done, then right there and then you activate that.
Is that a major cause for delays, for example?
That is a major cause for delay because, you see, after examining the cargo, incidentally, the Port Authority is not part of the cargo examination, mechanism. When they are examining cargo, our security stand at a distance and observe.
Watch.
Exactly. But then, when you have, or when 2 or 3 have come together to examine, and then maybe one is not there, and the cargo is moving out of the port, then another will say that it is time. I was not there when it was being examined. I want to see it too, and you know what that would mean. If you are late, there's nothing in it, but that interruption is going to be at a major cost to you, because sometimes you would have to deploy men and equipment to offload the cargo, for whoever to have his way in terms of search or examination, and it's going to cost you.
Is it power play by the agencies?
I don't want to call it power play.
Why don't you want to call it so?
I don't want to call it power play, but you see, many people have a reason for doing what they want to do in their own way. Many people have a reason for going by the status quo. Many people have a reason for resisting change. But that is where we must insist on that change.
What is your toughest logistical challenge at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, from where you sit at the top as Director General?
Well, so far as we are concerned now, we don't have any significant logistical change.
Not at all.
Logistical problem, no. We don't have any significant logistical problem. But the point I'm making is that all the agencies must, of course, sometimes you might have examined the cargo, even if it is a joint examination, but maybe on the way the cargo, as the cargo is moving, a tip-off may come, which will warrant that you interrupt the movement of the cargo to subject it to extra search or extra examination, you know, in line with the tip of that cane. Yes, but under normal circumstances, when the cargo leaves the examination platform, there should be no interruption.
Right.
It must go straight away. So that is one area that we are still pushing those who are involved in the examination to do it jointly once and for all.
Right.
To minimize the delays that are associated
and save the client's cost as well.
And exactly, save client costs in terms of the demurrage that Awengobi was talking about.
Expansion. Let's talk about port expansion. Right. Finally, as we wrap up the conversation, what's the plan?
The expansion is ongoing. Yes, Tema Port, there's expansion ongoing there.
Okay.
To expand the container handling or holding capacity from 1 million 20-footer containers to 3.5 million 20-footer containers.
Okay.
So it is ongoing, and I keep saying that the import of that expansion project is not to grow imports, but to grow exports.
Okay.
So that we'll have a balanced trade. The dynamics of our trade is not good for our economy.
Okay.
And so we are putting every effort together. We have brought all stakeholder agencies, both private and public, who are connected with the growing of exports for us to strategize.
Okay.
Integrated strategy to grow the exports, to balance our trade, to ensure that we have a balanced trade, and then we get more earnings into our country than earnings going out of our country by way of import. Takoradi is also ongoing.
Right.
We have signed new agreements with new concessionaires for the development of a container multipurpose terminal. We signed it last year.
Okay.
And the bulk terminal expansion or development is also ongoing. So we are putting the port, we are positioning the port to be able to support growth in the economy, particularly in the area of the integrated aluminum industry.
I thank you very much, Mr. Paul Asarnas. I'm grateful. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's an exclusive there. But have you heard about the Samsung S9? Sit tight. Something big is coming your way right after this.
We're still here on TV3 New Day. But yesterday, you know how we brought you exciting excerpts of the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus, the biggest thing to hit the tech industry. Today, I'm with Kwame Owusu-Ansah. We're going to be showing you a few features about the Samsung. He doesn't work for Samsung. He works for NG Digital here at TV3, and he will help us understand some of the specs because he's had the chance to use it. Kwame, how has it been handling S9, S9 Plus? How do you feel owning one?
This one makes you feel amazing. And first of all, I love the phone. It's very sleek and it's awesome in your hands, you know, because it's solid. This is titanium casing, and then the solid glass in the front. So it's beautiful.
It looks very classy.
It looks very, very classy. I mean, if you're a classic man or woman, you should get a Samsung Galaxy S9 or an S9 Plus, you know, it's good. But today, what we want to talk about, I mean, yesterday we demoed some of the camera stuff. We will go back in there and then finish up. But today we want to talk about security.
Okay.
So the Samsung Galaxy S and S9 Plus is very secure. In one way, it is water resistant. So there are a lot of people who are very, you know, they are not sure if they should take their phone to the bathroom or when they are going to the poolside. So they want to be extra careful with their children. Don't take my phone to the kitchen. Don't take it to the bathroom.
Just in case it drops.
You know, just in case it drops or water falls or anything, you're afraid the water might spoil the phone. But this phone actually is water resistant.
Okay.
So this is why we have a bowl of water here today. So I'm dipping this phone in the water and we'll have our conversation regularly. Then when we are done, we'll take it out and then navigate the phone as it is.
Viewers, don't cringe. Kwame and Samsung has promised that this S9 Plus and the S9 are water resistant. So we're going to leave it. You don't just dip it and bring it out so you think it was faked, but he would actually leave it throughout the conversation.
Exactly. All right, so here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome. My phone is swimming right now.
We probably should have shown viewers that it was still on, but I can see the time. It's 8:50.
It's 8:50 on the phone.
Yes, it's 8:50. It's Wednesday, 16th May.
Exactly.
And we see, okay, Kwame, so pick it out. Let's show viewers that everything is still on, and then we'll put it back in.
Okay.
Okay,
This
so
is it.
just if you can read it.
The phone is on. It was working perfectly. and it's 8:50 on the phone.
Kwame, can you keep the phone to the camera?
Right.
Yes, so you can
and
see the
some
time.
notifications on
Yes.
there. Everything is showing perfectly as it is working. So I'm dipping it back into the water, and then we go back and do
All right.
the rest of our demo. So, right, go back there, water, phone, swim.
Swim, have
Phone
fun.
is swimming.
Okay. So now we go back.
So I'm holding your S9 right now, and like I'm talking about security, right? Samsung has reimagined security. I know there are a lot of phones that have security features in there. I mean, the regular thing that people know is the PIN
or the
swipe or the password and everything. But Samsung added the most advanced security features yet, which are biometrics. You know, so if you open the settings of the phone and you go to lock screen and security, right? You will see different biometric examples of how you can secure your phone.
Okay, Kwame, so that viewers also see what you're doing,
Right.
I think you've synchronized this to the Samsung TV in the studio, and so we'll like to pick that so that people can see exactly what you're going through.
Great.
So they appreciate
Great.
it.
So let me just go back home and then
Okay,
come
so this
back
is the
out.
home screen.
So this is home screen. So home screen, you can either swipe up and then you go to settings.
Okay.
And then when you go to settings, you see lock screen and security. Just scroll down a bit and you see it over there. Now, when I click lock screen and security, it opens everything for me. Now, I'm now going to set up the security of this phone afresh.
Okay.
So let me talk first about the intelligence scan. Or before that, let me talk about face recognition and iris scanner. So face recognition uses the features of your face. It picks the biometric data of your face. So Amak, you can't use your face to unlock my phone. It's not possible.
Okay.
So if I want to set up face recognition, I just click on the face recognition, and then it gives me the whole, I mean, instructions on how to get it done.
Okay.
Right. So I continue, and then first of all, I have to set up a pattern or a pin, just so that in case my face is not recognized, the pin, I can use it to unlock it. So let me say I set a pin, which is 1289. Right. And I continue. 1289 again.
They ask you to remember.
They ask me to remember, exactly. So now it's done. So there's a disclaimer, click on the disclaimer, you are done. So you continue. And now it's telling me I have to hold the phone to my face. So I'm holding the phone, and in seconds, it just registers the features of my face.
Nice.
It does it in seconds. So now my face is registered on this phone right now. So I click OK, and I'm sorted. So when I go back to the home screen, right, let me lock the phone. And let me say I want to open it with my face. So now when I press on that, and then see, in seconds.
It just opened
These are
up.
actually milliseconds or microseconds.
And when you did that, I think there was a light that comes
exactly.
on.
So the light is what is loading.
Okay.
I'm showing you how the thing is registering.
Right.
Exactly. But it's so fast.
It is.
You know. So my face has been registered on the phone. Now let me go back into the settings again and then talk about another.
So, Kwame, should I maybe try using my face to see if we can unlock your phone?
Right. Let's try it now.
So
I'm gonna go ahead.
Let's see if it will just decide to pick me. It says no match.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is how it is. Somebody can never use your phone or their face to unlock your phone.
Okay.
You know. So now moving on from that, so I unlock with my face again, and it's gone. To settings.
That was quick.
That was really quick, you know. So back to settings again. Now, apart from face recognition, there is iris scanner. Yesterday, Tete spoke about the iris is the actual thing that nobody can replicate. Even twins have different iris.
Yeah.
So even if they are twins, one person cannot use their iris to open another person's phone.
Right.
This is how high security has gotten to with the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. So let me register my iris. So it's the same thing. I input a pin again, and 1289, and next, and disclaimer, okay, right. And now they're asking me to register my iris, right? So continue. Right. So they are telling me I should hold the thing to my face.
Okay, so they're showing you how to go through the process.
Exactly. So let's see how it goes.
So you're supposed to put your eyes
Exactly.
in
In there. So now it's going to register. Okay, it's registering. And there you go.
There.
Now my iris is registered to the phone. So let me skip everything and then go. Now I'm putting it on iris unlock now. So okay, and go back to home screen. I lock the phone.
It.
So now I want to unlock the phone with my iris, right? Let's go. Let's try it. Now, look at that feature. So now it's going to scan my face and find my iris. See,
and
there you go.
Nice.
And it opens in seconds. Like I'm saying, you don't... Samsung is amazing. Like,
Kwame, just in case people have forgotten, you know the phone is still in water, and I can read the time. It's now 8:56.
Exactly.
Phone
has been swimming for 6 minutes.
So down the line.
Right, so we are seeing that. So now my iris is registered to this phone. Now, let me talk about the intelligence scanner. So the most amazing thing about the intelligence scanner is that it combines your face and your iris. So just in case you are able to crack, you know there are hackers around doing stuff. So if somebody is able to hack into my facial biometrics, or they're able to hack into just my iris biometrics, then they are going to have to hack into my face and iris at the same time together to be able to unlock my phone. So now if I activate the intelligence scan, 1, 2, 8, 9, next, cancel, sorry. It has the face and the iris data already registered in here. Okay. So for instance, if you hadn't already input your face or your iris in there, you're going to just have to set it up first of all, just like how we've done it already. Now it has the data in there already. So now all I have to do is to activate iris, I have to intelligence scan as what my unlock feature. Right. So I have to click select this. So turn off iris unlock, and then I set intelligence scan as my unlock feature. Now, when I go outside and I lock the phone and I want to open it, it gives you, let me turn it away so that users can see this, otherwise it won't lock. So you see on top of it, stop looking at me.
The light.
Yes, the light is reflecting, so the thing is, but, okay, let me do it this way so that users can see it. So users can see that you see an eye and a face. An eye and a face, they are interchanging on the screen. If they can capture the screen right now, they will see that an eye and a screen are interchanging. For instance, if I want to unlock the phone, see, you see an eye and a screen.
Kwame, you can show it to this camera and let's see if it can pick it for you.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see like this. Maybe you can pick it.
Yes.
So if I want
so you can see a drawing there.
Exactly. So there's a drawing, there's an eye and a face showing up, trying to pick which is which it would use to unlock. Okay. Right. So if in case you are outside and there's too much light and so it can't really pick your iris properly, it would use your face. Okay. Now if you are in a place where it's a bit dark or mushy and then you can't really get your face scanned properly, it would pick your iris. Nice. And then it will just unlock your phone for you. This is high-level security. It certainly is. Nobody can be able to take your phone away from you and use it, or even if they steal the phone, they can't use it because they have to use your face and or your iris,
which they wouldn't have.
Which they wouldn't have. So, this is how great security has been advanced in the Samsung Galaxy S9.
Great. And on that note, we have been talking about the security system for the Samsung S9, Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus, and its water resistance. I'd like Johnny to actually be the one to pick it out of water, so viewers don't think we're doing anything.
Okay, here we go. But to say that my Samsung S8 also I used to put in the water like that, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
it also has that.
I wish I could just stir my tea with it, you know.
Go ahead. Feel free.
Johnny, just read what time you see on that, or if it's still on.
So it's 8:59. If you're stirring the water now, Samsung water. This is Samsung water, and we are stirring it. See? Oh, lovely. Okay, let it enjoy some more water. It's not taking it back.
Happy birthday. Yeah,
happy birthday to Selom Amenya. Selom Amenya is our court correspondent here at TV3. It's his birthday today. And to Efua Benewa, it's your birthday as well. Daniel Tete Oklu says, Tete Oklu actually says a happy birthday to you, lovely sister.
Know when that
I hear she's single. But
if Daniel is wishing here, is he sure he's not?
Oh, it's not. This is Daniel's sister. This is Daniel's sister. I know.
Sister from where?
And this is called Solomon. We'll see you.
We'll see you same time tomorrow. A shout out to Bright. He's been bugging me this morning. Bright, good morning wherever you are. Be a good boy.
Senior witch catcher. I will see you tomorrow. Be good. Be good.
What they had done, man.